She was a blessing to her people, sent to wipe their tears away, but her personal desires brought more pains to them. Her name is ONOME, the angel of light and the destroyer of the night. Once upon a time, in a peaceful African village, surrounded with mountains and forests, there lived a young and beautiful woman named ONOME. She was the only child of a humble farmer who instilled in her the values of kindness, compassion, and bravery. She extended warmth and kindness to everyone around her. ONOME was not just a daughter to her parents, she was the joy of the whole community. Her birth brought a lasting light that brightens the whole village. With her gentle smile and helpful nature, she was adored by all. Before ONOME was born, her community was facing different kinds of challenges. The neighboring kingdoms kept troubling them, taking over their lands, destroying their crops, and taking the lives of their youth. They couldn't face their enemies because of fear. They were just a small community who always come together to do everything as one family. They celebrate their happy and sad moments together, supporting one another with love. This got the larger kingdoms jealous. They wanted them to bow before them, trembling with fear whenever they see or hear their names. The torture was too much for them. They couldn't endure it anymore. They pleaded with the gods day and night to have mercy on them. After many years of battling with their enemies, the gods decided to send them a savior in form of a beautiful, calm, and gentle young woman through the most humble family in the entire community, who has been childless for many years. On the day ONOME was born, in the calm evening, everyone was back from their farms and businesses. As soon as the cry of the baby was heard, the darkness in the village was overshadowed with a bright light. Everyone was surprised and confused at the same time. The brightness lasted all through the night. Most of the villagers couldn't sleep all through the night as they thought the world had come to an end. The next morning, some elders went to consult the chief priest to find out what was wrong. When they got there, the chief priest told them to be calm, that their time of mourning is over. The gods have finally answered their prayers. He said a child whose gender was not revealed by the gods was sent to wipe away their tears. That child will bring comfort and peace to the entire community. Though the gender and how the child will come was not revealed, but when the time comes, you will all know. He warned them not to say a word of this revelation to anyone. The elders left with so much joy as they give praises to the gods of their land. When ONOME's parents held her in their arms, looking deep into her tiny cute eyes, they saw something beyond the physical. The joy that comes with just looking at ONOME's eyes left them speechless. They knew she was a special gift. When ONOME was growing older, they noticed something strange about her. Anyone that sees her becomes extremely happy no matter their present condition. One evening, as they were taking a walk around the village, they saw an old woman lying sick at the village square. ONOME quickly ran to the old woman, felt her temperature. She noticed the woman was having a very high fever. She quickly went into the bush and returned back with a handful of herbs. She squeezed it and dropped the juice in the old woman's eyes, rubbed some on her body and asked her parents to help the old woman up. Before they could get to the old woman's house, she was already strong. The old woman smiled and looked at ONOME and said, "Thank you, our angel of light. The gods have answered us through you." Little ONOME smiled while looking at her parents, who were as confused as her. They left the old woman's house with so many thoughts running through their minds. This continued until ONOME grew into a beautiful young woman. Her love and zeal for helping people grew stronger. But there was something strange about ONOME that no one was aware of, not even her parents. She was a special child, given to her community to keep them happy by the day and safe at night. During the day, ONOME would go around the village, offering assistance to everyone, especially the old people. She joyfully helped them fetch water from the village stream, sweep their compounds, comfort those facing difficult challenges, and tending to the sick. ONOME was a daughter everyone wished they had. She was a friend to all, both old and young. She was always there for her people, like a guiding light in the community. But at night, as darkness descended upon the land, ONOME would transform into a strange being with supernatural powers. The soft, sweet, and adorable Onome you see during the day will transform into a brave warrior ready to confront the dangers disturbing the peace of her people at night. With determination, she ventured into the depths of the surrounding forest, where frightening creatures are. Armed with a sword and in dark attire, she fearlessly battled against the darkness, defending her village from unseen threats. Despite her strange appearance, Onome's actions were driven by a sense of duty and compassion. She fought not out of a desire for glory, but out of a need to protect those she cared about. Unknown to the villagers and Onome's parents, she lived her double life joyfully, protecting her people with everything in her. The villagers experienced a lasting peace, leaving them wondering why the neighboring kingdoms stopped attacking them. Many of them concluded that the gods had heard their cry for help. Some said it was the birth of Onome that brought light to the entire community, filling their lives with peace and joy. They praised Onome as a symbol of hope and goodness during the day. They remained unaware of the sacrifices she made under the cover of darkness to ensure their safety. One fateful night, as Onome ventured into the forest as usual, this time she saw a group of young men digging a grave in the forest to bury an innocent young man alive. Onome, with so much anger, thinking it was one of her people, she destroyed all the men with her powers. As the young man they wanted to bury alive kept begging the darkness and the spirit of the night to have mercy on him, she went over to where the young man was seated, with his both hands and legs tied up. She untied him and asked him who he was and why they wanted to bury him alive. He told her that he was from a nearby community and that he saw the young men committing a terrible crime during the day. When they saw him, they decided to get rid of him to avoid being exposed. She felt sorry for the young man and decided to help him. She took him to her secret hut and asked him to stay there for the night, that a young woman would come over the next morning to see him. He assured him that the hut was safe. She returned back home that night, and the next morning, she went back to the forest to see the young man. When her parents asked her where she was going so early, she told them that she was going to the bush to get some herbs. When she got to the forest, she entered the hut and saw the young man sleeping. She tapped him and he jumped up with so much fear in his eyes. Onome asked him to calm down, that she was only there to help him. The young man asked her if she was sent by the spirit warrior who served him last night and brought him here. She smiled and nodded her head. The young man, still surprised and confused, asked her how she knew the spirit warrior. She told him that she also met the spirit warrior just like he did, though her own case was different, but the spirit also saved her. Onome asked the young man if he was ready to return to his kingdom. He said he wouldn't mind to spend a few more days in the hut if the spirit would allow him to. She asked him why he wanted to stay back in the forest instead of returning back to his people. The young man said he has no one to rush back to, and that he felt so much peace sleeping in this hut. Onome told him that there was no problem, that he could stay as long as he wants. She showed him everything he would be needing inside the hut. She also took him to a nearby stream where he could go and have his bath. She promised to bring him some foodstuffs that would last him for a few days. The young man was very grateful to Onome, as he wouldn't stop admiring her beauty. Onome returned back to her kingdom as she continued to offer her services to her people. That night, when Onome went to the forest, she didn't go anywhere close to the hut where the young man she saved was. She completed her tasks for the night and returned back to her normal self the next morning. She went to visit the young man again, who introduced himself to her as Nosa. He told her a lot about himself and how he lost his family. Onome became fond of him as she kept visiting him every day. This action of hers was beginning to affect who she was. Onome became distracted as she kept thinking about Nosa every single day while she was at home or attending to sick villagers. Her parents, who were beginning to notice how distracted she has become, asked her if everything was okay, and she told them that she was doing perfectly fine. One fateful night, an old man appeared to Onome in her dream and warned her to get rid of those feelings she was nurturing in her heart for Nosa, that she was the bride of the gods, sent specially to bring peace and love to her people. He told her the consequences of going against the warning of the gods. Onome woke up feeling angry as she asked the gods to let her be, that she was in love with Nosa the stranger. From that day, she stopped being kind to the villagers. She became a different person as she began losing all the treasures she was born with. Once again, the villagers started experiencing difficulties. In fact, things became worse than they were before her death. The neighboring kingdoms started gaining access to their land again. This time, they walked in and out, threatening to take over their community after destroying all of them. Some of the elders who were still alive went back to the chief priest to ask why calamity has befallen on them the second time. He looked at them and shook his head without saying a word. They sat there for hours waiting for him to speak, but he didn't say anything. The elders looked at each other and left without any hope. Onome, who has run away with Nosa, when her parents warned her to stay away from him, got pregnant after spending a couple of months with him in a strange land. She was having a good time while her people suffered and begged for mercy from the gods who have gone on silence. Her father broke down as soon as Onome left the house. The pain was unbearable for him. Onome and Nosa live together happily as they wait for Onome to deliver their child, whom she has been carrying for more than 10 months. After 15 months of walking around with pregnancy, Nosa became scared and ran away, leaving Onome to carry her burden alone. It was then that Onome realized what she has brought upon herself. She wept all night asking for mercy. When she slept off, the old man that appeared to her earlier came again, and this time he was laughing at her as he reminded her of how many times he had warned her to stay away from that young man. Now your community is suffering because of your mistakes, and what you are carrying is not a child, but the tears of your people whom you love so much, but decided to abandon them without a second thought. Wake up now, go back to your community and save them from being totally destroyed by the enemies surrounding them. Onome woke up as soon as the old man disappeared. She immediately went back to her land with her heavy tummy as if she was pregnant with 10 babies. After many hours of traveling, she finally arrived at her community. Everyone was looking at her with disappointment without saying anything to her. She went straight to her father's compound and saw some villagers and elders gathered there, while some women were holding her mother, trying to console her. Her father was no more. She fell down and started crying bitterly as her mother stood up angrily and started questioning her. "Why are you crying, you evil child? You are responsible for your father's death. Why did you come back here? Tell me, Onome, what are you doing here?" Onome started pleading with her mother to forgive her, that she didn't know what came over her. She was still pleading with her mother when the chief priest walked in with some elders and started screaming her name. "Onome, daughter of the land, bride of the gods, angel of light, destroyer of the evil dark spirits, night warrior, specially gifted to this land to bring peace and safety to your people. You deliver your role perfectly by making yourself available to all during the day, and at night you watch over the whole community, battling with both the seen and unseen evil with your supernatural powers. Why did you allow yourself to be tempted by a mere mortal? Why do you allow your human flesh to destroy you and the same people you came to save?" Everyone present was shocked to hear these revelations about Onome. Now it is clear to everyone. So Onome was actually the reason for their safety. No wonder she had so much strength. She does everything with love without getting tired. The chief priest continued, "Now your people are dying every single day. Their tears and pains has filled up your stomach, making you feel the weight of the pains the whole community is facing." Onome wasn't surprised at all. She knew she was the cause of her predicament and all that has befallen her people. She pleaded for mercy, and she said she was ready to do anything to put an end to the suffering of her people. The chief priest consulted the gods, and he was instructed to gather all the villagers in 7 days after Onome's father's burial, before telling her what the gods wanted her to do. 7 days later, the whole community gathered in the village square, with Onome standing in front of them as the chief priest delivered the message from the gods. He told them that the gods said Onome must offer herself as a sacrifice to cleanse the land. That was the only way out of their predicament. Onome stood in front of her people, looking at her condition and how much pain she has brought upon the people she once loved so much. With tears flowing from her eyes, she told the chief priest that she was ready. The whole community broke down in tears as they watched the chief priest and the elders sadly taking Onome away. On the night that Onome was sacrificed, there was a heavy downpour, the rain of redemption, the rain that washed away all their pains and restored joy unto their land. And so, Onome, the angel of light and the night destroyer, remain a beacon of love and the reason behind the peace and happiness in the whole community and the neighboring kingdoms. This story is reminding you and I that as humans, temptations will always come. Your ability to overcome is what makes you a different person. Sometimes you might fall, but your effort to pull out of it and embrace change makes you a better person. Onome offering herself as a sacrificial lamb serves as the time to let go of things that gives us joy for the sake of our loved ones' happiness. Alright guys, this brings us to the end of the story of Onome, the angel of light. Drop a comment guys and tell us what you think about the story. And don't forget to subscribe for more interesting videos. Also turn on the bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. Thank you. See you guys in my next video. Bye for now.